The story begins with the fact that the main character, David, leaves home on his own business and calmly drives his car along the highway to California, taking his time. Hello, friend, Dr. Fox is with you, and today I will tell you about the movie Duel. The road passes through a dry, sultry desert, which has no end in sight. On his way, David meets a huge tanker truck from which smoke billows. The hero calls and overtakes. He looks out the window, trying to make out the truck driver, but he's not getting anywhere. Angry tanker driver notices overtaking as an insult. He overtakes David, but David goes overtaking again as the truck is moving slowly and smells strongly of smoke, which angered the tanker driver even more. The truck driver honks, but David does not take his displeasure seriously. The man continues on his way, listening to the radio and looking at his watch. He drives up to a gas station and notices the same truck parked nearby. David looks out of the window, but sees only the driver's hand while the car is refueling. The man comes to the phone and calls his wife to apologize for last night, but his wife does not want to talk about it. She says that he could stand up for her when a certain Henderson was harassing her in front of everyone. David promises that he will not be late today and will come home on time. He pays for the gas and gets on the highway. Sometime later, looking in the rearview mirror, David notices the tanker truck again. The man presses on the gas pedal and accelerates, but the truck driver does not think to lag behind. David sticks his hand out of the window and waves him to overtake. The truck overtakes the passenger car and starts to slow down. David does not understand what this truck driver wants. David, who is already tired of inhaling the terrible smoke, decides to overtake him again, but this time the truck driver does not let him through. Swerving from side to side on the road, the man loses his temper and honks at the truck, looks out of the truck window. The driver waves at him, showing that it is possible to overtake. Satisfied, David presses on the gas pedal and almost crashes into a car that is driving in the oncoming lane. The man is shocked because he miraculously did not have an accident. David is very angry because he cannot outrun the hated truck. Then finally David saw a detour. The guy accelerated and overtook. David is happy as a child because he finally managed to overtake a tanker truck. He picks up speed and loses sight of the truck, but his joy was short-lived. The tanker starts to catch up with him and presses close, forcing him to accelerate. But the truck was not even going to slow down and honked at him, which made the man sweet and nervous. David presses on the gas pedal, accelerating his car to almost maximum speed, constantly honking. The truck pulls closer and closer, forcing David to accelerate even more. Our hero saw a roadside cave. The man brakes sharply, and the car skidded to the side. He crashes into a fence, and an elderly man immediately approaches him, asking about his condition. David says his neck hurts, and when asked what happened, he replied that the truck driver wanted to run him over with a truck. David goes to the bathroom to calm down and tidy himself up. The man comforts himself with the fact that this nightmare may have already ended, and everything is over. He walks into a cave, looks out the window and notices the same parked car, a tanker truck. The man sits down at an empty table and carefully examines each visitor, trying to discern his abuser among them. But all men, as if for evil, look almost the same. The waiter arrives, and David orders, continuing to stare at the customers. He chooses the most suspicious one and starts the conversation with him. The man asks to stop these games, saying that he will call the police if he does not stop chasing him. The men quarrel, and a fight ensues between them. David falls to the floor from the blow, and the man leaves the cave. David notices that he does not get into the truck at all, and realizes that he was mistaken. David hears the tanker start up. He runs out of the cave, but the truck is already far away. The man gets into his car and drives off in the opposite direction, on the side of the road near the tunnel. The driver of the school bus brakes him and asks him to take him in tow, as the bus has stalled and does not want to start. The man agrees and pushes the bus with a bumper from his car, but nothing happens. Getting out of the car, David notices a tanker truck parked in the tunnel. The children disperse to the sides. Some go out onto the road. The terrified David catches the children and asks the bus driver to get them out of the way. David gets into his car and drives off a short distance, watching as the tanker truck pushes the bus, helping it to start. The man leaves in disbelief. Approaching the railway crossing, David brakes, letting the passing train pass in front of him. Suddenly his car starts to jerk forward. David looks around and notices the same terrible tank truck that pushes him under the train. A frightened David presses on the brake and screams in horror, but the truck driver clearly likes this game, and she wants to scare him out of his wits. The train passes by, and David abruptly presses on the gas pedal. He pulls over to the side of the road and brakes. The tanker truck drives by and beeps to David. David continues on his way at a calm pace, hoping that it was over and the crazy truck driver left him alone. But everything changes when he sees the tanker truck parked on the side of the road again. The truck driver notices David's car, drives slowly forward. David's patience runs out, and he turns into the nearest gas station, and the tanker driver brakes at the curb and turns around. David asks the woman to fill up the car and check its condition, and he went to call the police to report an attempt on his life. While the man was talking to the policeman, the truck driver picks up speed and drives straight at him. David notices the tanker truck and jumps out of the phone booth. At this moment, the truck demolishes the phone booth and begins to drive in a circle, breaking everything that gets in its way, thereby scaring the man even more. David gets behind the wheel and drives into a roadside ditch, hiding the car behind a hill. The truck driver does not notice him and drives past. David decides to wait a couple of hours and falls asleep. After a while, a train passes by and honks, which scares the man. David starts the car and continues on his way, but having come around the bend, the man slows down sharply when there was a similar tanker truck on the side of the road ahead. Deciding to skip past him, David presses the gas pedal to the floor, but the truck driver pulls into the roadway and blocks the passage. David gets out of the car and walks towards the unknown truck driver. When he gets closer, the truck pulls away to a safe distance and stops again on the side of the road, as if provoking a man. David gets behind the wheel and drives forward, and the tanker truck follows him. The man presses the gas pedal to the floor and accelerates the car to break away from him, but the truck does not stop and goes at high speed. David rushes forward, and the tanker truck disappears from sight. Suddenly, the cooling pipe bursts, the engine begins to overheat, and the arrow on the speedometer falls down. Confused, David becomes nervous and, noticing the truck from behind, panics even more. His car smokes heavily and reaches a speed of no more than 20 miles per hour. David prays that the ascent will end faster, and the descent will immediately follow. He turns off the engine, puts the car in neutral gear and rolls forward, gradually gaining speed. While the man is trying to start the car, he loses control, skids to the side and crashes into a nearby hill. David manages to start the car, and having left on the dirt road, he drives forward. The road ends and the man stops. David sees a truck rushing towards him at full speed. Without thinking twice, the man presses the gas pedal with a suitcase and directs the car to the tanker truck. Jumping out on the move, the truck crashes into David's car and falls off a cliff. The man is glad that this nightmare is finally over, and he is alive. And there is no truck driver. True, there is no car either, but life is more expensive. That's all. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.